Your repurposed freighter drifts through space. As you stare out at the star-flecked void, another ship comes in. Wait, is this sci-fi? I thought we agreed on a World War II campaign. Oh, did we? That's cool. I can pivot. The smell of smoke curdles in your nostrils. Hold up, I thought we were prepping for a zombie apocalypse campaign. Alright, here's what we're doing. It's the year 3700. Humanity's elite fled to other planets long ago, taking with them all forms of advanced technology. Earth survivors scrape by with historic tools as weird phenomena plague abandoned nuclear sites. Witnesses report seeing glowing lights and the dead rising from their graves. And amidst the chaos, 3 strangers will meet in a dim bar. A veteran zombie slayer, a disgraced general out for revenge, and a space mercenary sent to investigate the power plants. Now describe your characters. How did you do that? I have the right tools for the job. Some maps are drawn but never followed. Some adventures dreamed of but never experienced. To the Mad Mage, this was the greatest sin of all. He asked each of us, if you really want to be great, how far will you go? For over 15 years, we had no answer for him. Until today. Our journey to Castle ZAGYG starts now. The fortified town of Yigsburg hums with life. Traders, rogues, and scholars all gather together on the edge of the unknown. Depending on your neighborhood, the cobbled streets may be lined with strangers of an unscrupulous sort, but make no mistake, the people here hold the key to untold wealth and knowledge. Beyond the town's walls, past the rivers and the rolling hills, the ruins await. Crumbling towers, forgotten halls, and a darkness that stirs again at last. Most who enter the caves below may never be seen again, but those who do emerge will be remembered in legends for generations to come. And beneath it all, deep in the belly of the world, lie the upper floors of the dungeons. In this lightless place, you'll find twisted experiments, lost artifacts, and horrors unseen by mortal eyes. These are the first 5 layers of a labyrinth built by the Archmage ZAGYG himself. This is more than a campaign setting. It's a gateway to adventures beyond your wildest dreams. So, will you walk with me, traveler? Don't you want to be great? How far will you go?
Troll
There's
Games.
no telling how
Join
many
the
times I've
fray.
been through Bristol in my life.
live.
Literally, no telling how many. I used to live in Virginia Beach.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's yeah, Virginia Beach was sort of a wild time. I actually made the conscious decision while at Virginia Beach to leave Virginia Beach. I was going to college there and hanging out at the beach, and I was like, after 1 year, I was like, this is doom. This is just straight up doom. I will get into so much trouble. I'm out. So I just packed my bags and left.
That's
after
funny.
a year.
Yeah, beach life can be rough sometimes. How is everybody? How you guys doing? We're live. Me and Davis here. We're holding down the fort today at the Troll Dens. Davis was going to hop on. We're going to take some questions about the campaign, about TLG, talk about updates, and discuss a little bit about working with Gary and all that good stuff. We do have a giveaway going on over here right now on Twitch. I can't have to do it here, unfortunately. It's twitch.tv/TrollerGames. You can come over here and join us. Give us a follow. Exploits Point Raffle will get you in for some $10 PDF codes. And then later at the end of the stream, I'll be giving away a download of our Book of Names from the NPC Almanac collection that Davis wrote. It's just a book of names. But I'm going to hand that out to everybody. If you guys got any questions in the chat and you want to ask us anything, just if you would, please, just preface it with the word question in front of it in caps so I can catch it in the queue. And I'll go through here and start grabbing I think there's already been a few questions already, Davis, so I'm going to go grab those real fast.
Do it.
Do it. Have you got any wise words of wisdom for everybody today, Davis? What's going on? Your neck of woods.
I'm about finished with my article for Elven Made In. I'm really late on it.
Yeah, it's Friday.
I know. Probably won't be to her till tomorrow morning. So it'll be a little bit late, but that's fine. I'll give her an article. I like her. I like her website and everything. So I'd like to support her as much as possible.
No, that's
She's also putting together that thing. But I got an article on. So this has come up on Twitter. I don't know where it started, but it's come up a lot. And there was a question. I could name a few places, whatever, about the economy. Right, the economy in gaming worlds.
Right, and that's something I don't never fooled with, believe it or not. And I know it's like a huge subject for some people. Right, I've never.
Yeah, it is. It is. A lot of people spend a lot of time, and Ken actually wanted me to write an and I'm not an economist, but develop sort of an economy of scale for air, like trading patterns, what's traded here, there, and elsewhere, and blah 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 blah. So I actually didn't start that. But anyway, the thing was the economy, right? How economies actually work. And one of the issues being that you find all these treasure, how much treasure should you give out? And if a magical item is worth 20,000 gold pieces or whatever, how does that affect whatever? How do you value these things or some such? Mm-hmm. And I've never looked at it that way. I've always put the economy, the actual physical economy, in the background as sort of an ancillary subject that doesn't often get touched. But I wrote this article called The Economy of Abandonment is what I've written about. All the abandoned places that need to be filled. And that's what the game is about. So anyway, that article will be showing up on Elven Made In's thing at some point in the near future.
Yeah, Mark Hawkman said in the chat, he said, "My take is simple: never give players more money than opportunities to run out of money." You got to have a gold sink, man. You got to have a gold sink, whatever that form.
Well, that's the key on the economy. I think for the economics of it, depending on how you want to run your game, because it's really multifaceted. You can't give them so much gold that it's just like flowing over everywhere. So the gold becomes a non-issue unless you want that as part of your game, right? Mm-hmm. So that outfitting and stuff like that is just a non-issue, right? I go to town, I get all this stuff that I need, and I leave, right? If you want your game to be that way, that's fine. There's nothing against that. In that way, the economy just rolls off into the background. And then valuing it for experience points and stuff like that. I don't know. You can drive your players to certain things. So if you take away coins as an experience point pool, then they're going to have to focus on something else for the experience point pool, whether that be combat or like whatever goals you set for the thing. But that's amorphous. That's difficult to do because like if you create this plot and say like, okay, so if they finish this scenario, it's worth 5,000 experience points, right? They capture, a prince or whatever it is.
Right.
Well, knowing players over the years is that you can create a plot, and unless you railroad them, there's a likelihood that they're going to go somewhere else. I mean, there's a very high likelihood that they're just going to do something else non-related to the plot, unless you do some railroady type stuff to keep them inside the plot, the boundaries of the plot. Dungeons are easier to handle that way. So if you finish level 1 of the dungeon, then you gain 1 level experience, whatever, something like that. But that's just basically a device to control the plot. That's all that is. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Anyway.
Somebody asked out there, they said, it was Omega, said, trade gold. What do you think about trade gold for experience? I mean, that's an interesting thought. I mean, you'd have to be careful though, because if they hoard their gold and all of a sudden they want to go up like 8 levels, that would be a problem. But.
Yeah, so I guess so people handle it differently. So sometimes the gold that you get, adds to your expense points. I think Kent doesn't do that. I don't do that. Magic items do. What's the standard rule in CNC?
Well, I mean, we give gold value. I don't know honestly because I haven't given experience for gold since 2nd edition, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think most people. Yeah, I think most people. A lot of people who play for a long time, it sort of becomes an issue. Not everybody, but it sort of becomes an issue because when you get like 20, 100,000 gold, and you're trying to up those hordes, you like to make it more exciting. It just gets out of hand really quick.
Touch of Evil says he's got a warlock in his D&D campaign that has a greedy devil as a patron. Every gold piece is 1 XP. So that's interesting. Yeah. You could have someone.
Yeah. So Yeah, so there's ways to handle it. Okay, so like an interesting way. One is not to do it, right? Okay,
right,
so
that's what I do. I don't do shit with it
because I just don't want to track it. That's part of it, and I don't want them to focus on the gold. I want them to focus on the story arc of the game. But that's problematic too because then how do you award experience? So I have to sort of ad hoc experience sometimes and say, well, you managed to do this, so I'm going to throw on a couple of 100 experience points for doing that, rather than just be combat. Otherwise they kill stuff or something like that.
No.
Nevertheless, so one option is they don't get experience for the gold until they spend it.
That's interesting.
Which will prevent hoarding. Right?
No, I can see them just being broke all the damn time.
Right. Yeah. So that's how you gain the experience. Now, what technically all treasure is in the game technically is an experience point pool. That's all that it is. It's a way to level up. It's a story reward. Okay. And that's why the hordes, as you go up in levels and fight bigger monsters, the hordes get bigger and bigger because you need more experience to go up in levels. Technically, that's all that it is. So I like to strip it out and just create story rewards that are ad hoc off the top of my head. After a while, you sort of get used to it and you can sort of figure it out.
Right.
And then you also have what that also creates in the character or the players, rather than them focusing on the experience points for generating levels, they focus on the story more to generate the levels.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of comments in here talking about trying to, a lot of people use training and that kind of thing. They cost you money. When you level up, it takes so much gold. You get the XP for it, but there's a cost, which I totally get that, and that's not a bad thing. Somebody, it was Halicar, I think it said, I give experience for gold, but faithful adherence to encumbrance rules can prevent some bloat in that arena.
Yep.
No way they're carrying out 20,000 gold pieces from the deep dark dungeon. No, and that's very true. And if you're doing it that way, you can afford to have like hordes of money everywhere, because if they get a little bit and they get out, they figure, well, we'll come back. By the time they come back, you just repopulate the dungeon again. It's, some other dragon has moved in or whatever. So it's like,
yeah.
you know,
That's the problem with those, like the handy haversack and bags of holding and stuff like that. You just you stick everything into it. So those are really rare. I've probably given away like 2 bags of holding in my whole life because I know that they can be.
I don't give those away, and I don't like the identify spell at all. So
I don't like identify.
I want them to try, taste, smell, all that kind of thing. And the way I do it is if they're 10th level and they've got like a first or second level item, I'm gonna assume that by that time they have either seen something like that being used or they've heard of it. They're going to be experienced enough. They're not going to be like, ooh, or whatever. But if you're like, early levels, that's so much fun,
Oh, yeah.
I get it when you're 12th level, but I get it, so.
Yeah, it's just sort of interesting.
Yeah.
The whole economy, and then if you want to actually build an economy, my God. Now, I will say, Igsburg, Gary's done a really, really, really good job of like the trading economy, because
I saw that because I gave myself a crash course yesterday, and I was like, "Whoa, look at all this!" That book's amazing, man. It's amazing.
And if you go into the World Builder,
yep, and again,
from
more of that.
And you can create like any type of economy. You can say, because he has lists of all these types of resources that people trade, hundreds and hundreds of resources that people trade. So you can go up, which is really sort of cool too, because then you can have these wagon trains, right? Let's say they're going to play a brigand and you're going to rob a wagon train. And you can reasonably put stuff in that wagon train that's like you wouldn't think of normally. What's my treasure? Oh, it's a barrel of salted fish, Right.
It's just that's money. It's worth money. You've got to transport and all that. Yeah, it's just not cut and dry as we do it sometimes,
you think about some of the bigger traded items. I mean, charcoal was a big traded item, just raw wool, cotton, all these things. Then
humans,
silks, tapestries.
All kinds of shit. I mean, and when I was in college, and I know you know this very well, but one of the most fascinating things I loved to study was how currency was developed. Like, you've got the mound builders they used pearls because they didn't have pearls regularly. So that was a big deal. Right. Pearls, that was like, ooh, I don't know. I just found out, like, and what's that tribe, the Samoan tribe that had like the giant, like the fucking huge ass wheels of stone, and they would wheel those around, and they were worth so much money. It's like, how did that even become a?
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Oh, yeah. They had these big stones. They're like round wheels of stone that they were worth varying sizes were worth so much. The bigger the wheel of stone, the more valuable it was. They would carve intricate stuff on the sides of it and decorate it, and it was worth like, this is so many pigs and so many villages or so many houses. I don't know.
I wonder if you could counterfeit one. You're at home at night.
Just roll in, take over.
Hey, I made $1 million last night. Look at this.
What's up, Frank?
Crazier thing. Okay, so chocolate beans have been used as currency. Yep. Shell has been used as currency. Now, here's an interesting one. Stones, rocks, just pebbles or whatever, were used as currency in Rome for a time because the Roman economy had completely collapsed. The denarii or whatever it's called was completely worthless. So they used stones to do their barter and trading in, right? Just like this is worth 18 stones, or this is worth 19 stones. So apparently, this is how crazy it was during that period in Roman time. Inflation hit the stones. And they had to abandon the stones as currency because they weighed too much.
I mean, that makes sense. It's just like those big wheels. And what are you going to do with that?
After
a couple of funny comments in here about what we're talking about just for the second. Omega Gambit says, I just saw a video of a guy that gorilla gooed 100,000 pennies to the floor of a room. What is that, like $100 or something? I don't know what that is, really. I guess it would
100,000 pennies. I think it's $1,000.
Oh my God. Let's see. And Halicar over on YouTube says, also, treasure value of a monster won't be in the most convenient form. My group encountered an ogre lair where most of the treasure was in farm animals and construction materials.
Yes. No, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. That's when, okay. So it's funny you mentioned that because that was a big switch over for me. And I don't know when it happened because it occurred to me at some point, probably in the 90s. I was like, wait a second. why are these monsters who like live out in the middle of the wilderness, in a shack? Why do they have a bucket of 100 freaking gold pieces?
Well, it's not like they're going to go downtown and go shopping. Let's get us some new armor.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no,
they need
it's
food.
really- Right. So I started converting the treasure into stuff that they had around their house, valuing it. And that's right. Cattle and sheep and chickens and
You know
eggs
what?
and
I'm thinking I want to do some treasure tables, and I'm going to replace a lot of that in there with mundane shit like that.
yeah, no. I
Because
think
normally
it's-
when you
yeah.
find treasure tables, like in our books, we have treasure tables, but you see, goats, celery. I mean, I mean, think about it. It makes sense.
Excellent. That is excellent. No, that's what the treasure table should be. Like, for
It should be
let's
for
say ogres,
monsters.
Yeah, for some of the monsters, like for ogres, sheep, cow, whatever, dried fish.
Right. No, I mean it makes complete sense. We need to redo that. We need to re-engineer engineering treasure tables, Davis. We should do it.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Think about it. We could have so much
Oh
fun.
my. Oh, that would actually be.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
That would be fun.
I don't hate on celery, Dirty. I think celery is great. In fact, I'm proposing that some ogres may have boxes and boxes of it.
Beets.
Beets are popular with ogres as well, as are toads.
Hey, Veggie Pygmies love pineapple. you get the holy collar. Yeah, no.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Let me check. We're doing a crowdfunding thing. If you guys didn't know, I'm going to pop the link in here for Gary Gygax's Castle ZAGYG.
You got 1,000 gold pieces worth of pineapple. Now you have to get it to market.
We're sitting at $470,000 and $101. That's just insane with a week left. Wow. Next stretch reward is abandoned places. That's the layers, right, Davis? That's the basis for players, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so since I started this article, now,
Okay.
Can you hear that in the background?
For just a second, I did. For just a second, yeah. It's not much though. I'll tell you what. Before you get started in that discussion, let me answer a couple questions real quick because they're not related to this, and we get them out of the way so we don't lose.
Okay.
So Ray, there will not be a stream at 4:30 this evening for the Murder Hobos and Castle ZAGYG, which is exactly what those three are. The next schedule, I'm gonna put out a schedule though and drop it everywhere. I don't know how to do it today, but it is. Where is our thing at? He was fussing at me. Oh, here, I got it. The next Castle ZAGYG game will be Sunday at 8 p.m. Yep, 8 p.m. Sunday will be 8 p.m. As far as I know. So, yep. So that's the next one for that. Let's see. What else did we have for questions here, real quick?
I actually had fun doing it. That was fun.
It was a lot of fun. You guys, I've got a better handle now on how to handle you a little better. Because man, Kent will not relent. He's like, go, 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 and you're like, what's under here? You know. And Peter's just over going, you know. Question from Tomcat Dad: damage reduction in the CKG is a single number. The Armory books have a range: 1d3 -1, etc. What does that mean?
All right, you'd have to flip to the. Let me pull up the chapter.
Yeah, look and see real quick because I don't know.
It's the amount. Okay, so the damage reduction in the CKG is one of the optional rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's an optional rule. Damage reduction for armor in the Armory book is another optional rule, and if you go to the chapter on optional rules, it'll explain what damage reduction is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and how to use it, because I think I give at least 2 different methods for using damage reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is when you're wearing that type of armor and you get hit, you get to reduce the damage.
So you actually have a generated number in armor versus a static. A single.
Yeah, I do not have actually a copy of the book.
Well, I mean, they just got them in yesterday, so you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, but
you have the PDF at least.
No, I don't have the PDF. I deleted it. I have no idea why. It was just in my way one day. But I do have the raw files, right? So rules in the game. I don't know what combat and custom optional rules and applications. Part 3.
He said
Part 3
Tomcat says page
rules
269 describes 3 methods.
is
Didn't see the range. Are you talking about in the Armory or in the CKG, Tomcat? Let me look up.
Armor X protect the body from harm. Blah 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 blah. Damage reduction 1. In this case, armor and shields can activate mitigate damage the character takes. The range of the reduction is listed with the armor. All damage reduction is given as range and not a static number. That's damage reduction 1. On damage reduction 2, you go to, I think, table. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 3 different methods for using damage reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's attack type versus armor type. Then there's attack type, armor type, and damage reduction all combined. And they're different. They have to be a little bit different depending on the method that you use. So you'd have to go into the optional rules and read them and pick which optional rule you want to use. That's on page 269?
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I don't have the PDF handy.
Here,
Look at my.
You're gonna have it handy right now. I'm getting ready to drop it to you.
Okay.
It's in our chat right there. There you go. Because I don't know either. I know you want to see it. You need to have it anyway. So people come across these crazy questions.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to get back into it and reread because it's been off my desk for so long that.
I'm gonna send you all 3 of these while I'm in here because you need them. So
Why does it always go to?
There you go. There you got all 3 now. All right, let me get back into chat here. You over here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Davis might remember. The problem is he's got so much going on. He has to try to get his head resynced. That's the way we are. We have to like refocus our brain, I guess. Would that be the right way to put it? I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
See, Tux Lafitte, I am so excited for Castle ZAGYG. It will be the base of a whole new campaign I would like to run locally. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't own any of it other than when the Iggsburg Retro Prick came out. And I didn't bother to even look at it then. I've been busy working for Troll Lords. But yesterday, when I ran that game for them, or I guess it was the other night, and I ran that game for them. It was yesterday. I spent about an hour and a half going through a little bit of Iggsburg. And I'm telling you what, man, I am on board with running a campaign out there. I done told the guys I want to start something new up out of there. It's so good. So much cool shit, man. I can't wait to get all the new stuff, right? The new modernization of it, the upgraded maps and all that, and the new layout. It'll be so nice. So I'm very excited about that, for sure.
So if you go to plate mail Mycenaean, it has a damage reduction of 1d4, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And then now so the stats on the right-hand side of the armor and helmets and stuff like that, generally speaking, are optional. Okay, the stats that you need to play are on the left-hand side, starting at the top: cost, AC, then EV, weight, and type. And the ones on the right-hand side that's why it's listed under optional. These are all covered in the optional rules. Okay. So you don't necessarily need those to play the game. The first 2, the cost and AC, are basically what 90% of players will only use, right? And then for those who care to, you add that in. Now, damage reduction, yeah, it's on 269. And if you go to damage reduction, there's 3 types of damage reduction. You'd have to read each type of damage reduction to decide which one you want to use. The easiest is the first, which is just the damage reduction listed is whatever it has.
Okay.
So damage reduction 2 is actually a little bit more difficult because you have to adjust the AC base from 10 to 5. Okay. And damage reduction 3, it's that combines the attack type with the type of armor, and you don't use the damage reduction listed with the armor, you use the damage reduction listed with the chart. So if you have a slashing weapon, say like a sword against, like a saber against plate mail, right? Full plate mail.
That's
the damage
wild.
reduction. Yeah, it's a slash versus type 5 armor, so it'd be minus 1d8 for every hit, which means, like with the saber, I think a normal saber, the damage is 1d6 or 1d8, one of the two. There's several sabers in there. Let's just say it's 1d8, right? So if you're using a saber against someone in field plate, you roll and you do 8 points of damage with your attack if you hit, right? They get to do the damage reduction, which is 1d8. They can mitigate the entire damage.
That's if you really want to get down and dirty with the whole stats on armor and stuff, right? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and that's sort of reflective of reality too, because when I got into that plate mail stuff, I was like, oh my God, this crap was virtually impenetrable, especially some of the steel. Once I got the steel, it was virtually impenetrable to any weapon. I mean, it was just, and then you watch those guys who do those live fights today, they are pounding the living crap out of each other. I know they're not sharpened, but they're still pounding the living crap out of each other. And it's just like, oh, stuff is hard.
Well, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about you and Gary and what little bit you worked with him on different projects over the years, particularly ZAGYG. I know you've had interactions with him even outside of their conventions and whatnot, right? You know, I mean, you met Gary once, right? I mean, you know.
Yeah, I met him. Gary and I hardly ever talked gaming or any business. We didn't even talk business. Gary and I basically talked history and politics.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I met him. I'll tell you about my one-time interaction with him. I was in line at the Gen Con Origins mashup at the 25th anniversary or whatever, and I stood in line for 30 minutes to get him to sign an autograph for me, and he shook my hand and said good luck, and that was it. And I never saw him again.
Oh, I remember that convention. I was there at that convention.
Yeah,
I remember. You were in that big old line?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was...
oh, yeah, he was popular.
Yeah, Break Daddy was there, and me, Camp, Break Daddy, and someone else. I can't remember who else was there.
I don't remember that. But anyway, go ahead with what you were going to talk about. I just wanted to tell you it was my anecdote with my one-time meeting. It was not much.
Yeah, did I ever tell you about the first time I met Gary?
No.
I didn't know it was Gary.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it was like the first Gen Con or this, it was the first Gen Con. And I'd go out on smoke breaks, right? Going out to the deck of the Gen Con thing or whatever, the loading dock.
Oh,
right?
It's funny because I heard the reverse of this story from Ken about something else that was related with this, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll be going out on the loading dock and sit there and have a, take a cigarette break every once in a while. And there are always guys out there, right? And I jibber jabber with them. So I remember sitting down with this one guy and started talking about this, that, and the other. It started out with history and then moved into politics. And I'd go out there and we met like several times out there and you spent like an hour talking or stuff like that about whatever, history and junk. And I didn't know it was Gary. I had no idea. I was just jabbering and talking. And then he comes by the booth. I told him one because he asked what I'm doing there. And I was like, I got this little booth doing this, blah, 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 blah. You should come by the booth. And so he comes by the booth and I'm sitting there. And then and I started giving him the spiel, the sales spiel. And he's so polite about this whole thing. And I think that Alex was standing behind him as well as Gail. And everyone was so polite while I was giving this spiel because it was quite obvious that I had no idea who he was.
Oh, Lord. Was your brother nearby?
No, but Mac was. Oh, and then God. Mac interrupted me and said, that's Gary Gygax. I was like, what the fuck?
That's awesome. I met Zach Glacier the same way. First time I ever met Zach was at Gary Con, 10 years ago. I don't know. Something like that. And I met him out smoking at the loading dock. He was smoking. That's back when I still smoked. But a long time ago. But anyway, crazy stuff. So what was it like? I mean, as far as you guys, did I think you worked on some maps for it or something? Or how did that process work?
Yeah. This is sort of funny, though, because like Kent remembers. He has a good memory for this type of
Oh, I
stuff,
know.
and
Yeah.
I think being a historian too, his natural inclination is to catalog, log, and keep track of stuff, and blah 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 blah.
Right.
Which by training I should have too, but I don't. I'm just like, man, throw it away. But we would email back and forth about the game and stuff like that when we were designing the game, and then as well about ZAGYG, because you know that all of that was combined in one big swoop, right? Uh, we had to design for him to do ZAGYG. He wanted a game that he was comfortable with putting it in, right? So I had to make sure when we were doing the thing that Gary understood, and Gary understood this, that, and the other, and that it worked for him, that everything worked seamlessly, so he wouldn't have to restructure his entire, because he wouldn't do it if he had to restructure the whole thing,
I
right?
understand that. Right. Of course.
So so everything came out fine on that. I don't know. I remember those emails, a little bit of those emails, but see, I lost all those emails too. Kent kept all his.
I
I
know. He
lost all
kept
mine.
every last single one of them, which was impressive. I'll give him that.
Yeah, and I don't even know, because I would change accounts, Gmail accounts every year on January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like Scobbit this plus the year. And so all those emails would just, and I can't get into them anymore. I have no idea how to get into them anymore. And all those emails that I lost. But I do remember him. I would send him to classes every once in a while, and he was actually very, very polite, very good with me. We never had much of a discussion about it, but he would send me these critiques and say, this won't really work if you if you expand this out to the next 10 levels, this doesn't work, So he's very, very good about spotting problems and rules that were
Right.
gone out. And as well, the maps though, when I finally got that final draft to him, he said, okay, I can work with this.
Mm-hmm.
And reluctantly, he was giving us maps and notes. But he was very, very clear that he didn't want anyone to see his notes, see his writing, or see the originals of anything. He was very, very clear on that. And so Kent and I have never, and I don't think anyone other than family and a few other people have seen those notes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he was very clear on that. So what I had to do was take his maps. So he would trust Kent and I with them, right? So we would get these maps, and then I had to convert them.
I got a question for you. I got a question when you're done about the maps. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I had to convert the maps. I had to redraw the maps, right? Because I couldn't show the originals to Peter or anything like that. I had to redraw the maps and send those drawings to Peter. And I was always like, I was looking at the maps. I was like, okay, I'll do this accurately. But I always thought to myself, should I change it just a little bit? Just a little bit so that it doesn't match up with Gary's original. I didn't, but I always wondered if that would probably be the best way to do it, to keep some mystery buried in there, keep some original stuff inside his notes that just never sees the light of day. But I didn't do that. Kent wouldn't let me do that. They're really complex. I remember one level with all that freaking maze on it and everything. I would count out all those little squares because he sent me one that was all taped together, like five or six different pieces of graph paper all taped together and everything like that, which is a miracle that he kept those maps around for years and years and years. And the cool thing about the maps is there's notes on the map, and
right, thoughts and stuff.
Yeah, and who died here or what, and where it changed. You could see where there's
That's
X
hilarious.
here, and then he scratched it out. And now there's X here, and he scratched it out. So much gold, scratched it out, and then again scratched it out. So that each iteration of the adventure, when people went back in, it was a constantly repopulating dungeon. So he had to change everything all the time too.
No, I get that for sure.
Yeah.
When I was working that out yesterday, I was going to look because there's so much cool shit in there. Even in just the Eastmark area, you've got several tombs you can explore. There's a druid thing. There's a bunch of stuff. But I was going to run you guys through a little bit of that too. I'd originally planned on, of course. I knew it would probably be hard to do with us being busy and all that, right?
Hmm.
But I'm trying to find it right here. But anyway, in there was this one dungeon, and I'm telling you, I couldn't make heads or tails of the room numbers. It just did not match up with the text. I mean, I'm sure that if I'd have sat down and drew it all out and looked at it and measured it, it would make sense to me. But just for the casual person, I was lost. And I've looked at a lot of maps. I've been playing games for a long time, but it was a tough on me. And I thought, man, I'm going to ask him about that because I definitely think some of that needs to be. I've run across that before in something else we put out.
Chimera's Roost.
Maybe it was something, but it's funny you mentioned that one. But it wasn't the maps were wrong. It's just that I guess the way they're presented versus how the text talks, just wasn't matching up in my head. It wasn't clicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's this is actually for those of.
I mean, to give you one example, underneath Igsburg, there's a Thieves Guild. Well, the map for that literally is just lines, lines, because there was no. It wasn't even really on graph paper that much. Maybe a couple little spots. You know what I mean? So anyway.
It's like connective sewer lines, basically, is what it is.
Kinda,
Or
yeah.
tube lines.
But when you're looking for a dungeon and figuring out stuff, you usually look for corridors or whatever. I mean, I'm not complaining. It was just hard to understand what was going on.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, it can be, but I mean, there's two issues. One, like with Igsburg, and especially with the Mons itself and the dungeons beneath, is that they're vast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for those of you who have made up dungeons on the fly or run big dungeons and stuff like that, you know that you make up some of it on the fly.
Right.
Right. You have to because there's mistakes that are made or something like that. Yeah. Now, and here's this is a thing we ran into real early, is conveying like what's on the map to the text and marrying up the two. And it's especially difficult if the text is written prior to the map being completed. Okay. So as a general rule now, I complete the entire map first so that the map is completely done. Mm-hmm. And then I make sure that my text anyway is supposed to marry up to the map. Yeah. That doesn't always work out, but like Chimera's Roost is a good example where that was a complete fail. Yeah. Because I couldn't convey, because I had multiple intersecting layers. So it wasn't like level 1, level 2. It was like level 1 goes up like this, and then there's a slight level like this, and another level like this, and another level like this, and they all intersect and intertwine. And so I didn't know how to map that. Yeah. Yeah,
I get it.
I think I gave Peter a really bad map.
Well, and like this part in here, this was called the I can't think what it's called now. It was called there's the Thieves Underground. What was that called? It was called something stones. It was a big like a big area with a bunch of what are they called? Menhirs or whatever. Yeah. But the way they were numbered on the map and the way they were worded in there, it was just really confusing because it would be like go to the southeast one, but they had like every one of them had a number. It was crazy, and I was like, you know what I mean? I don't know. No. I'm the kind of person, if I can't figure it out, I'll just move on real quick and I'll just make something up. Okay. Or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, generally that's what I do, but no, that gets really to marry those two up. And, yeah. And giving directions too, because I'm constantly, for whatever, I never put anything on a grid like north, south, east, west. It's always off, northwest, southeast. Corridors are never straight or whatever.
You get all that. Yeah, that's good stuff.
But yeah, marrying that stuff up is sort of a problem. But if you see that in there, just let us know so we can go in and correct it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I want to make sure. Because I know when Bill redid the Undying War maps, there was some issues with that stuff. And some of that he didn't catch because he was just doing it verbatim. Yeah, and that's not a criticism on him. I didn't expect him to sit down and play through the damn game to figure out. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm gonna draw these maps. I'm gonna do a Hall of the Undying War. It's Yeah. One of those kind of things. So you have to kind of Yeah.
That's why Kent's always wanted. He's like, just do a straight corridor with doors off to the side.
Yeah, if he had his way, it'd be 3 rooms all interconnected by straight lines, and that would be it. Or 4, I guess.
And 25,000 words per room. Just describe everything.
We could talk about him. He's not here anyway. So.
Yeah.
Let's
Like, I
see.
mean, he told me one time, he was like, "Don't put so many rooms in this dungeon." I'm like, "Why? What? I get you need the at least has to be 16 pages long to functionally print, right?" And he's like, "Okay, well, just have someone write a letter to someone and stick it in a drawer somewhere and just write the whole letter."
Yeah.
So you what? Oh, I'm all over that.
So it sounds like it was an interesting conversation with him as far as dealing with the maps. I think it was pretty cool about it. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine what the process was. What was the most? I guess maps probably didn't fall as being a major priority back then either, versus the actual text, right? And setting up the actual, interactions with players and that kind of stuff, right? I mean, I don't know. How important was it? Because how can I say it this way? Since I've been to work with TLG, it seems like mapping is important as far as being a part of the process. But I don't know. Maybe that could be just because I think Kent doesn't, Steve doesn't care about the maps as much as other people do. Like me, I love maps, right? I love maps. I love cartography, so I'm always wanting to read them and look at them, and that's why I like seeing these really neat little maps that are illustrated with a little bit of stuff on them, right? But I know he's more of a plains Jane kind of guy. Like, well, hell, look at what he eats for breakfast: 2 pieces of toast and water. So he's not exactly the most flavorful person out there. So I get it, right? But I like to have a little bit of coolness.
Yeah, Kent likes three foods: steak, mac and cheese, and green beans. Oh, and a cheeseburger.
And don't forget the cheeseburger. You will be cast out. That's for sure. Oh, God.
And I'll literally eat anything you put in front of me. I'm like, sure, I'll eat that. Why not?
Hey, Tex Lafitte, that's kind of neat. We actually played around with that. I mean, who knows? I would love to have an intro adventure for ZAGYG, but maybe if we get farther enough, we got a week left. Who knows? Usually the last week's kind of crazy. Things pick up, so it's always possible.
Well, Kent has suggested, or Steve suggested that we do that, do an intro adventure for.
Yeah. And we might do one anyway, even outside of the damn kicks, the backer kit. It doesn't stop us from just making one.
We may, but so here's my thing. So at 500,000, we're doing the abandoned places, which currently has like 4 places. And it's going to be 4-page things or whatever.
Right.
And there'll be maps. And the abandoned places are actually abandoned places that the characters can go and occupy. They're abandoned. They're completely empty. There's nothing. We're just going to describe them to them. It's going to be a boat, a tavern, a keep, and something else that they can use as a home base or something like that.
Right.
They have to get to it or whatever.
And the GM can take the whatever and just fill it with whatever they want if they want them to be occupied. You just say, okay, drop it in there.
Yeah. The GM will be able to fill them up if they want to or not. I'll have a twist to mine, but I've sort of looked at it too. And since I always overwrite, so for example, the Armory book, right? It was that was 120-page Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
That for a soft-bound book, 120 pages long. That's what the Kickstarter was for. By the time it was done, we ended up with what? 2 volumes and hardback.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's stuff that I threw out because Kent got tired of me just keep adding stuff.
Yeah.
But so anyway, what was I talking about?
I don't know. I got distracted by a question. I do have a couple comments we need to address. The questions real quick. Halicard, just email me at chuck@troller.com and I'll see if that's. There wasn't one. Oh, that's right. There wasn't one yesterday, Halicard. We didn't have one yesterday. I didn't have time to set it up. But there will be one here in just a little bit when we close out. Yeah, that's right. We didn't have one yesterday. Yeah, Dark Chateau might have been the intro for that. We're not redoing it. That's Rob Kuntz IP, and so he's kind of handling that kind of stuff. But maybe it was. I don't know if it was an intro or not. I've never read it. I've got it, but I've never read it. So,
yeah, I don't know. It's not. It's a high level. That's a hard adventure.
Nothing about it. Odd One Man asks for me and you, Davis. What the hell has happened in your playing? The moments. You ever had a what the hell moment?
For what?
Just in general, the years playing games. What's probably one that sticks out in your head as being like just a shocker? I can give you a good answer for mine right now, and that's your brother rolling that 100 the other night on the damn camera. That was nuts. I never saw that happening in a million years. I just couldn't expect.
No, I can't think of one. I can't think of it. There've been a lot. I can't think of because I know that because players, players are really funny. You can't plan it all, no matter what. I got over that really, really, really quick.
Yeah.
Kent's probably given me a few of the because he'll get tired of something, he'll get bored of something, and you can tell right away. His finger starts moving, or his eye will twitch a little bit, his head will turn sideways, or something like that. He's bored and something's going to die, and he'll just run up and attack and stuff like that.
I believe I could have actually sent a horde of orcs against y'all yesterday, and he'd have been happy as shit.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to really just lay it out there.
I should have stabbed him to death at the end of the adventure.
Well, I mean, there's still opportunity. We got 3 more sessions, so plenty of good time.
Yeah, and stole the gold.
In fact,
I should have killed both of them.
I've already started having a little bit of fun with you guys anyway with that in ZAGYG already. So,
I can't think off the top of my head any just drop dead moments.
Well, mine was definitely yesterday when he did that. I'll have it, Tux. I'm gonna put it up on YouTube this afternoon. It'll be up, and you guys can go back and watch it. It's pretty funny. It's pretty cool. I mean, it may be on there. We were streaming live through there. I think I'll have to check and see because Restream acted weird at the end, but I think it actually got ported over. I'll have to see. I don't know. That's a good question, George. Ultra Mega asks, is there a summary of Castle ZAGYG, like a 1-pager of what to expect in the setting? I don't know. I mean, there might be something in there. I don't know myself, but that wouldn't be a bad thing to actually toss out there to the webs. You know what?
Oh, here was one. Okay, so I had this set up. This is in Felsentheim that's been published in the Death on the Trekland series.
Right.
And it's sort of at the end of the siege of Felsentheim, and everything's falling apart. Everyone's dying. Oh, there were 2 moments in that game. 3. Actually, that was like, what the?
Oh, really?
That's when Kent kills his wife. Kent's character kills his wife, right? Rather than her getting captured by the goblin, he kills her, right? And he throws his son down the well in the hopes that he'll survive. Okay. So the son is down in the well, and he takes his sword and he stabs his wife, and then he goes down fighting. And I was like, damn, never saw that coming. And then Charlie, who was on the whatever side of Felsentheim, and the spiders were running over the thing, right? These goblins were riding on their spiders and throwing their stuff like that. And they had collapsed the wall. The wall had collapsed at this point. So Charlie's standing there fighting them off, and he swings and he kills this rider on the spider. And he goes, I jump on the spider and try to do it. And I'm like, yeah, no way. You've never ridden a spider before. You don't know anything about this. You have to roll a natural 20 and you can get on the spider. And he rolls a natural 20 and he gets so I'm like, okay, yeah, you jump on the spider, they're shooting at it, and everything he misses them. And then he goes, I treat it just like a horse and ride it out. I'm like, well, it's not a horse, so you have to roll another natural 20. He rolls another natural 20.
Oh my God.
He's the only one that escaped from that thing. And
I can see now why he tries the stuff he tries, because he's, always trying to sneak around and,
yeah,
be clever, I guess.
And then there was when Chris was playing, he was coming into a combat one time. He brought a paladin into a combat, and he had this huge backstory. It's first level, and he has this huge backstory for his paladin. He's all decked out in his plate armor. I mean, it's not a paladin; it's a knight. So he starts out decked out with the horse and everything, and all his beautiful colors in his pendant. And so he challenges this orc or something, whatever, to a duel, like a lancing thing, right? So for whatever reason, Chris has a little pet dog, one of those little pet dogs, the little small one, Shih Tzu or some shit like that. Right. And he sits it behind his shield and he's like charging into combat. I'm like, this is great. He's got max hit points, first combat, very first swing. Boom. He missed. I hit. Natural 20, double damage, killed his character right there. But his dog survived. Anyway.
It's hilarious.
That was one of those funny.
There's good stories you guys have growing. I think we've all got them though. Really, to be honest with you, it's one of those things where we just I don't know that stuff comes back to me sometimes. Somebody will play a song or it'll be something it'll hit, and I'll remember it, and I'm just like, oh, as far as that stuff goes.
There's been a few when Kent charged back into battle to save an NPC and died, and he had a really good character. Then he made a decision to go back in and save the NPC, and he died doing so. That turned out to be a really, really memorable battle. Then there was Lips. Lips decided to jump into the mouth of a dragon. Mm-hmm. Again, one of those, a suicide move, right? Basically, that took me completely off guard. And he had some kind of artifact with him. And as soon as he hit the mouth of the dragon, he exploded the artifact. So he died and he killed the dragon. And it was supposed to be this epic, huge, long battle. That's what I wanted it to be. Like, It was supposed to last most of the night of battle. And this was when we were kids, right? And you play on a Saturday night, you start at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you figure we'll be up till 3 a.m. playing. So I had this whole thing planned around this dragon and the things that follow on and all this kind of stuff. And he killed the dragon like within the first 30 minutes of play. And I was like, this is supposed to last hours. This is from hours.
So he's the thief of joy is what you're saying. Got it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me get some of these questions out. We're running. I'm just about out of time. Omega Gamma asks, does the VTT Player's Handbook we've got for Reforged Kickstarter for Foundry get updated if rules change in future publication releases, or is it just a snapshot of current rules only? Asking because I don't currently use Foundry, but may in the not too near future. Well, the way that works, it's software. We'll try to keep it updated on our side the best we can. We don't particularly plan on changing any rules or anything from here on out. I think the Reforged was kind of special. I mean, there might be an occasional errata thing. If there was, I would just probably get somebody from the community to dive in and fix it on the back end. But for the most thing you've got to be concerned with would be the fact that it's software driven. So if there's something software about it that needs to be updated through Foundry, that would be the only thing I would think you would have to worry about. Torlock72 asks, what's the one piece of advice, Davis, that you would give to a young content creator looking to get into TTRPG design? One piece of advice, important advice. Package mark goes by. Dave.
Like role-playing game design?
Yeah, tabletop RPGs.
Read up on game theory.
You've told me that before.
A new follower has joined the fray.
A whole lot of reading on game theory, the psychology of gaming, and then read a lot of rules. I mean, at this point, we're 45, 50 years into TTRPGs, right?
Right.
A lot of rules have been tried. Okay. So go for like tried and true. You're going to have to look up certain things and divorce yourself from preconceived notions, just sort of figure out where you want it to go.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, I would start with game theory and psychology, and then the psychology of gaming, game theory, and then read a whole lot of RPGs.
Buy some games and break them apart and see what's good about them, because some of the most popular games out there now don't even have a lot of rules, which is rather interesting.
Yeah, it always starts out with like a small round of rules, and then they just keep adding layers to the rules, right? And then we'll swing back to fewer rules, then it'll swing back to more rules, and swing back to rules. And there's also, if you're getting into TTRPG design, business models. So you would take, and this is really important too, if you want to actually make it into a business or something like that, look at various business models. Mm-hmm. So I think on the extremes you would have Warhammer, not Warhammer Fantasy TTRPG, but Warhammer rule miniature battles or whatever it is. Their business model, D&D's business model, and then I would say like our business model. So our business model is never to change like the rules. So you can still take the first printing of the PHB and use that. D&D's business model, or not TSR's necessarily, but certainly WotC's business model is iterations, forcing you to buy new editions. Okay, and now it's iterated into the closed garden that they're making, right? And then you have who have done it extremely successful is Warhammer Miniatures. So they changed the rules every 3 years or 4 years, something like that. It seems like every week they've got new rules. But anyway, it's like it's on a time period. But what they do as well, and more importantly than just changing the rules, because I've got rule books back here dating back to the 1980s. The rules don't differ that much, not markedly, I would say, considering the potentials that they could use, right? Yeah. What they do change is the official, like the numbering, the counting, and the miniatures that can be used in the battles and stuff like that. So their money is generated not through the rules itself. Their money is generated through the miniatures and ancillary products like that.
Okay.
Anyway, business models.
Lummox B75 says, how many of the Grimtooth traps have you put in your games? Oh, I've used creative traps for years, Lummox. I've got those books, and I used to use them. There's some really wild shit in there, and every once in a while I'll get one of those out. But they're almost, I mean, this is not a critique. I love them, but they're not very basic. Well, he has some basic traps in the first ones, but man, he gets nuts. Like I know there's one that's got a tree in it. When you go in there, if you don't do something to the tree, the whole room fills up with water and drowns you. It's some craziness like that.
Yeah.
There's some wild ones in there.
Yeah, Grimtooth there's a lot of wild. I only use them rarely over the years. I'm not a big trap person.
But like y'all noticed with that trap I had with the glue for you guys, poured out on you. I could have got nastier with it, but I was being cool. If we were playing a 4 or 5 hour session, that would have went differently. I promise you that.
Yeah, you know what I thought when you did that? I was like, damn, I'm stuck on that flypaper. Have you ever got stuck on flypaper? Like put your hand on flypaper?
Well, that's kind of what it was supposed to be, and they were going to come out and melee you, but I changed it. Yeah. Also, Savage Splendor says, and I'll send this to you later, but he says the Night of Hope on YouTube was a big eye opener of how badass full plate was for me. It's a you might enjoy that. I'll send that to you. And Ortho Magnus, I saw both your questions. I'm going to run those by Steve. I think they're really good suggestions to talk a little bit about the history of ZAGYG, and maybe he can do a little write up in the beginning with his preface. I think that's a really good idea. Question from Halakar on YouTube: is there any natural tie-in between ZAGYG and Old Greyhawk Ruins module? Officially, no.
No.
Unofficially, Ruins of Greyhawk, Ruins of, we'll say. Officially, no. And let's see. We'll do one more question here, and then we'll get out of here. Let's see. This is from Obwin Man. What is the most difficult as a DM in CNC? What do you think is one of the most difficult things you have to do when running a game of CNC? Or would be probably because there's a lot of things about it we tote about CNC being easy and all this. So what's something that's hard for a CK?
For me,
spells. Spells.
Yeah, spells. I can't memorize them. I just have a vague idea. So I expect the player to know the spells. And what I particularly do not like is when you have to open the book and figure the spell out, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you would say that. There's a guy I ran into at Gary Con who was running a whole game of CNC, and they only had one player's handbook. And so he just told them to go ahead and just use the spell however they thought it meant by the name of it.
Yeah, no, that's why we
great. It went by way fast because they looked nothing up, and it said, "Oh, it does this. Okay, roll this," and Again,
and that's why
the
we have
beauty of the siege engine, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's perfect, and that's why we have those little short descriptions beside the spell, because that should, you can read it once and go to use that short description, and you should know it anyway. But I don't like stopping and looking up spells and stuff like that. I don't really, and I have a hard time tracking it.
Well, and I use a generator for potions that literally just makes stuff up. It's not for any game. It'll be like, this is what it looks like, this is what it smells, and then it'll give you some sort of crazy result, loosely based off of a D&D-ish sort of RPG kind of feel. It's pretty cool, Yeah, spell cards. We're working on spell cards. That's in the process. I've had 2 different people working on it now, so I don't know. I need to go check and find out where we're at with those. Oh, goodness.
I have no idea.
It's so hard to get listed. Oh, and John, I saw your question. Davis had basically, the story with Gary Gygax he was talking about was he basically met him on the docks, didn't know who he was. And when Gary came by the booth, he tried to sell him on role playing, which is, you know, the father of role playing. He's trying to tell him about it. So that,
Yeah.
off the wall, how long did it take you to run White Plume Mountain in 2004 Gary Con? I can run White Plume Mountain. I usually run it in about 4 hours, 3.5, 4 hours, but I don't do the whole module because it's a convention, right? Conventions and stores, one shots. I take it. I like using that adventure because it's modular. I can break up pieces and move it around. Nobody knows. Like I get people at the table all the time, like, oh, I know where this is going. And I'll just literally move rooms around, and then they're like, oh, you know. So that's kind of how I do it, you know. But that's a long adventure if you try to run it just straight as. I don't run any con game. I don't run any adventures anymore at cons or anywhere like one shot kind of things. I don't even try to. I'll write down like hints about an adventure, like the main takeaways from it. And I'll find some of the rooms that are important to it if that is related, and I'll go with that. I try to make it easy because you never know when they're going to waste like an hour trying to go through a door because they're terrified, you know, or whatever, you know. And you don't want to be railroading the whole time, right?
Right.
But that's what I do, Stephen. I try to chop it up. I'll usually do about a third. Is what I'll do. Now, last time I ran it, I combined the part with the flaming lava and the vampire. I combined that with the other part where they had to go to fight the giant crab. So I change it up, you know. And that's one of those adventures you can do that. It doesn't break it either. You know what I mean? Because you're basically exploring the whole dungeon looking for 3 items, and it could be anywhere. Anyway, that's my spiel on that.
Yeah, you know, that brings up another aha moment for me. So I was actually introducing these youngsters to role playing, and I think they had played maybe 1 or 2 times before or something like that. Anyway, so I had a dungeon. I had like 6 hours ahead of me, whatever, all the time in the world basically. And this was at Origins or something like that. They had played war games before, but had never played like a D&D type game. So I was doing a C&C dungeon. They were so paranoid that they were stopping every 10 feet to check for traps. Every single 10 feet to check for traps. And it just kept going like this because I'd forgotten what it's like to be a new player. And you're actually trying to experience that. I mean, so if you think about it, like if this were real life, you know, and you're going into a dungeon and you know that there's something in there and you know that they lay traps, you're going to take your time and you're going to do it very, very carefully and very, very slowly. And they did that. And I didn't know, like I was actually really, really, really confused. I'm not sure how I handled it at the end, how to get them out of that this isn't a trap every 10 feet. There's not that much to be worried about. I think probably a couple hours spent just like goofing around in the first few rooms until they got the idea and they started moving more quickly.
Right. All right, we're going to do the giveaway and get us out of here. Oh, Steven, I see. Yeah, we're not going to get orders this year. That was part of the reason. The prices went up, and I'm not sold on it. But we're going to go to another convention there in the fall in Dayton, which is called a CataCon. They've been really nice to us. They've reached out to us. I've sponsored them for a couple of years, and I've got several CKs that want to go run games, so I'm looking people for that. But I'll be putting more on the airwaves about that soon. But if you're in the neighborhood and want to go to Dayton, I'd love to have you come over there. I think we're going to try and send the booth there, and I'm going to drive up and run some games too. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll get to talk on something else. All right, I'm going to close these giveaways out, the entries right here. Let me find them here. And we'll give away some right here. Let's see. All right. So this will be $10 PDF codes on the store. A link will pop up in the chat to our Discord. Just join the Discord and find Obsidian Risk. You can tag him. You can just ask whatever, and he'll get you the code. Not a big deal. We give them away all the time. Just come to our streams and hang out. That's all we ask. And just be friendly. All right. First winner is going to be winner 3. Congrats. Winner. Congrats. Winner. Chicken dinner. All right. It's winter, actually, so I'm playing a little take it on that. The Fine Line. Congrats, The Fine Line. Congrats on you winning as well. We'll do one more here, and then I'll get the link for the freebie for everybody. Next up will be Willie the Rat. Ah, yes. The Canadian gangster. Willie the Rat, Yeah, all right. Let me get that. We'll close that out. Congrats, winners. Congrats, everybody. That was awesome. Let me get over here to This. All right, so I'm giving away the book of names today for us. It's a PDF. It'll be up for a couple hours. I've got it set to go to quit basically in like an hour and a half, so you don't have to rush right away or whatever. In case, and if you don't get the link, you can email me and I'll send you the link or whatever if you need to. Shouldn't have time though. I'm gonna drop it in here as quickly as I can though. Here we go. Oh, I probably need to fix that real quick.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Chuck.
Every time you stop to fix something, you break something else.
Man, I love those NPC almanacs. All this shit is awesome, dude. Bro, I'm so glad you wrote those. Seriously, out of all the things you've written for us, that's the things I probably use the most. That is no lie.
Yeah. There's
awesome.
some good NPCs in there. I mean,
there's
really
some awesome shit in there, man. There's some funny stuff too.
Yeah.
All right, there's the first link out for everybody. There you go. Go bomb the store. You click on that. That'll give you a coupon. It'll put it right in your cart and you can check out. If you don't have an account, you just make one. Go out real fast with it. There's no need to try to even make one. It just kind of is that way. Yeah, I do too, Lando. They're amazing, man. They really are. They're amazing. There's no lie. Let me get into the link.
Yeah, I think the NPC Almanac and the Armory book are going to be outside of PHP are going to be my favorite. Thing so far that I've done.
Oh, really?
I think, I know the NPC Almanac actually, it took a long time, you remember. It took a long time for me to write that because I wouldn't shut up. And I just kept going, we need more to make it useful. Anyway.
Well, you certainly got that.
That was Ken's idea.
Of course. All right, there's a link out a few times in chat. Go ahead and grab it if you want. Or copy it down and use it later, or whatever. Like I said, it's going to be up for like an hour or so.
That was another one of those Kickstarters that were only supposed to be like 150 pages.
Yeah, they all start off like that. They all start off that way.
Yeah.
I've done decided that's exactly how it works. All right, I'm going to set us up a raid. We're going to go and raid out of here and let you guys do your thing. I got some more work to do. I've got to go put some stuff in the store, add a couple add-ons to the Kickstarter, or to the backer kit. I'm going to add on the screen today for the Hermit. I'm going to add on the CNC PDFs. I didn't get to them last night. So I'll do the bundle today on that. And then I got a bunch of emails to answer. So let me see here. Where is my raid I had set up here? Yes. I think we're going to raid into Reaper. They're doing some painting. That'd be kind of cool to look at, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And speaking of wait, are you in charge of cons this year?
Yeah, unfortunately, all the time. I know you want to go there. I do too.
Okay, so just buy tickets.
Oh, that's great, Brungal. That's fantastic. I'm glad to know that stuff went out. So there's the raid, guys. We're going to raid into them and hit them up. Thanks for coming. We really appreciate you so much. We'll be off tomorrow. We will be back, SleeperCon. Oh, Jeremy. We'll be back live Sunday at 8 p.m. to do another round of Castle ZAGYG with Davis, Peter, and Steve as they go up the hill and into the ruins of the castle. Should be quite exciting. I'm hoping they'll let me give them a level each to level 6. I think they've earned it. So, yeah.
I earned it indefinitely. I played so wisely and so well.
I will, John, do me a favor and shoot me an email, John, will you? That way I'll get you in queue. I know you want him badly, and maybe I'll just kill off Davis. We'll see. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for your time, for hanging out with us. We're going to go. Have a wonderful day. All right, we'll see you guys. And don't forget,
be good, people.
Trolls